Good morning, everyone. Please stand for the national anthem. Good morning again to our participants and team members. Welcome to day 5 and final day of our Virtual Professional Development Institute. On Monday, we started with our opening session and award ceremony. And I must once more express gratitude to our partners who have contributed immensely to the early childhood sector in Jamaica. Also acknowledging our partners for ECC PDI 2021, Jamaica Diaspora Task Force Action Network JD-TAN, and the Culture, Health, Arts, Sports, and Education Chase Fund. Today, our final day of ECC's PDI promises to be impactful. This morning's session is being presented by Dr. Ganesh Shetty from 9:15 to 10. Dr. Shetty currently works with the Kingston and St. Andrew Health Department. He has worked at various child guidance clinics in the region, at schools and communities, as well as the University of Technology, Jamaica, and he operates a private practice in Kingston. Following the security incursion of West Kingston in 2010, Dr. Shetty, along with his colleagues, helped over 175 children affected by post-traumatic stress disorder. Dr. Shetty and his team, in collaboration with non-governmental organizations, have trained and are supervising the delivery of trauma treatment by youth workers in inner city communities of West Kingston. He also assisted traumatized children, parents, and teachers in Augusta Town. Recently, he also played a significant role in establishing a Saturday clinic for sexually abused children in children's homes. Following Dr. Shetty's presentation, I will return with your questions. Please give him your undivided attention.
My brothers and sisters, one love, one heart, one destiny. Today, I would like to share with you the need for change in our mindset, which should liberate us from job slavery and into our creative potentials, and motivation with love to learn, laugh, and leave a legacy. This is not really about class or social inequality in and of itself, as if some oppressed group needs to be set free. It is bigger than that. It's about what the human society at this point in time needs to exist and persist with all the horrible things happening, including climate change. Okay, is it good now? Okay. We have an education system which installs a lie that you're only as good as your grades, your future is only as bright as your grades, which stresses youth with long, boring classes and heavy load of homework, which kills youth's creativity and encourages them to succumb to job slavery, which prepares them for the past and not for future. We have a social system which entices youth who are thus stressed out to get addicted to drugs, alcohol, and social media and video games, making the drug dealers, alcohol vendors, Facebook, and Google's rich while the youth waste their time, energy, and reduce their chance of becoming rich. Social system which is sexualized keeps you ignorant about how relationships are controlled by schemas or life traps, and romantic relationships are controlled by attachment styles. It compels you to have intimate relationship although they are not ready, and worse, forces them to have children when they have no good idea about how to become good enough parent. And we have a monetary system which influences you to view as if everything is for sale and commodifies everything, including relationships. No honey without any money. And we have a military system which also starts the machinery of destruction globally. As you can see, Assad is killing his own people with Russian bombs, and Saudis are killing people in Yemen at funeral. And of course, recently we saw the sky light up with Hamas rockets and Israel's bombs. And we have our own history of bombing of the police station in 2010. And we are caught up in the materialistic system which says what you possess is more important than who you are, what you drive is more important than what drives you, what is on you is more important than what is in you. This system is hypocritical in that it makes you believe the lies to become anxious and depressed, and then judges you as lazy, crazy, and stupid. Now, on top of the problems we're having, we have COVID pandemic, which is superimposed on crime with endemic, which is crime and violence disorder. And these can be fueled by poor parenting skills, poor psychosocial support, adverse childhood experience and trauma, and unidentified and untreated mental disorders in youth, which can foster so many problems in the society: violence, drug use, teenage pregnancy, and such. And now, on top of that, we have the COVID pandemic. If the COVID pandemic is
Okay, we do apologize for the technical issues that we are experiencing. At this time, we will return to Dr. Shetty's presentation.
Oh, okay. So we have don't get polarized between right and left, PNP, GLP, capitalist, communist, and Eurocentric and Afrocentric. Please try not to get biased. And let us look at preschool. Whether it's Head Start or No Child Left Behind, or is it a rich child? And I see mothers who have normal children, but they're anxious and bring them for evaluation. And we do have children who are different. And also some of them might have neurodevelopmental disorders like autism and ADHD, which are better identified early and helped sufficiently. And in primary school, who does take great interest in doing the homework unless if the teacher is going to be upset next day? And if you come first in the class, you get big cone of ice cream. And if you come first from the last, you get cursing from your mother. And if you don't pass paper exam, you will go to so-called dunce school. And at high school, they tell you, if you don't do well on CXC, you'll go to supermarket and pack groceries for people or push cart downtown. So fear is used to motivate. And there's real concern about children being forced to grow up too fast, and childhood activities like play are being replaced at earlier ages with more meaningful and life pursuit of educational and occupational success. So they start preparing for them for job from early, from preschool. And play is so important for leisure, pleasure, amusement, as well as learning and self-development. And it is a profound biological process which has evolved to promote survival. It shapes the brain and makes animals smarter and more adaptable. It fosters empathy and makes it possible to live in complex social groups. And at its core lies creativity and innovation. So in other words, children develop skills through play. It's not a waste of time. It's not extracurricular activity. It should be in the main curriculum itself. So language, physical, emotional, social, and cognitive intellectual development takes place when children play. In other words, if you don't play, you pay in terms of brain development, especially in your early childhood, in terms of your learning capacity with joy, in terms of your success, academic and otherwise. And opposite of play is not work, it is depression. So the mindset, we have two kinds, for instance. One is fixed mindset, other one is growth mindset. And fixed mindset folks believe that intelligence is static. You're born with it or without it. And growth mindset folks believe that it can be developed. So the fixed mindset folks lead to desire to look smart, and therefore they have a tendency to avoid challenges, give up easily, see effort as fruitless or worse, ignore useful negative feedback, feel threatened by the success of others. As a result, they may plateau early and achieve less than their full potential. All this confirms a determinist view of the world. Whereas folks with growth mindset lead with a desire to learn and therefore have a tendency to embrace challenges, persist in the face of setbacks, see effort as the path to mastery, learn from criticism, find lessons and inspiration in success of others, no red eye and bad mind. And as a result, they reach even higher level of achievement. And this gives them a greater sense of free will. So fixed mindset folks, as I said, believe intelligence is what you're born with, and growth mindset will believe you can develop it with some effort. And what folks with fixed mindset would say is, the main thing I want when I do my schoolwork is to show how good I am at it. Whereas growth mindset folks will say, it's much more important for me to learn things in my class than it is to get the best grade. Effort is seen as negative, whereas growth mindset folks see it as positive. When the strategies fail, they are feel helpless if they're fixed mindset folks, but the others with growth mindset be resilient and believe that if they can only work a little harder and invest more energy and time, they will succeed. When it comes to praise, when they get an A, they must think that they are smarter than others, whereas the effort-oriented folks will say, okay, I really tried very hard. So in other words, fixed mindset folks, it's important to look smart, be confident when they succeed, but lose it when they lose. And they don't have intrinsic motivation to put the effort, and the performance can be affected by it. Whereas the growth mindset, they have high confidence, high motivation, and they keep learning. And the research shows that also when they tested folks with that mindset in some difficult math achievement, and also they looked at their tendency to cheat the system and lie. And interestingly, folks who believe they are very smart land up cheating more because they want to look smart all the time. So in other words, you can grow your intelligence, and the motivation, of course, was high in the folks with growth mindset. All right, so there's also an online program called Brainology, which is interactive and is very animated, interesting, where they mix teaching brain science with study skills, which leads to motivation and better achievement. And these are the outcome studies which show that with the proper mindset, you have improved outcomes. All right, so the best way to motivate children is not to frighten them with what will happen if they get low grades or don't finish their assignment, but to focus on growth mindset, which leads to more motivation and self-efficacy. Motivation and self-efficacy are most powerful levers to catalyze student learning. Engaging students in a fun, interactive way in relevant context so that they're receptive to it. We have to ensure that consistent, comprehensive, high-quality delivery happens across the school. All right, so what the teachers can do, they can challenge in ways that growth mindset is encouraged. For example, when students succeed with little effort, they can say, oh, you got another A on the test without even studying. I'm sorry that I may have wasted your time with things that are too easy for you. Let us think of something you can do that will give you more of a challenge. They can also say, you always do so well on your tests. What do you do to prepare or succeed? Would you share strategies with the class? So just focus on the effort. And if it is a situation where students succeed as a result of putting enough effort, you have to praise it by saying something like, I'm so proud of the effort you put in order to improve your grade. It makes you really put your mind to it, and I guess the struggle was worth it. Or it was great to watch you work so hard and accomplish this. And when students do face disappointment or failure, which invariably happens sometimes, you could say something like, so you didn't do as well as you wanted to. Let us look at this as an opportunity to learn. Or what parts did you do well in and what parts were difficult for you? Or you can say, let us look at the difficult parts specifically, which you can help them to improve. Okay, so parents now can give growth mindset message to the children all the time. For instance, you're a developing person and I'm interested in your development. Instead of fixed mindset message, which would say, you're so bright, and then when they do have a situation where the risk not being so bright decided by the grades, they panic and either they give up or they find excuses. And you can praise them for effort, not for the talent, with messages like, you learn that so quickly, you're so smart. Teach the child that they either aren't smart, and that effort is not sign of weakness. It is, if they encounter difficulty in future, they tend to then feel not smart and retreat. That's if you encourage their fixed mindset. So you have to always focus on encouraging the effort, and it's the outcome which always makes people anxious. And when we change mindset at that grassroots level, to make it sustain and generalize, we have to take care of other systemic issues which come in the way. For example, budgetary restriction we have to overcome. We have to be proactive and not reactive. We should find some time in spite of our heavy job description and workload. We should be open to just not talking, but task shifting and task sharing. And we have to also share power and visibility. Focus on collaboration, not competition. And if there are any hidden agendas, we have to make them unhidden in service of common goals. And praxis is so important than chronic contemplation. Commitment, perseverance will eventually pay off. All right, so once we can do that, we can tackle the sources of problem as I showed in the previous slides, which are predisposing, perpetuating, and precipitating factors like poor parenting skills can be mitigated by preventative parenting. And we can have a coalition of agencies to come to help in this effort, like National Parenting Support Commission. And poor psychosocial support can be dealt with by providing whole family with the support in the community. And different agencies can also pitch in, like PIOJ, SDC, and JC, for example. And in terms of traumatic experiences, best thing is to prevent it. And once they are unfortunately exposed to it and do risk developing PTSD, we have to give them skills which they can manage when they are triggered. And sometimes they need more intensive psychotherapy and occasionally medication too. And not locking up children who come in conflict with law, and instead giving them diversion program of getting counseling and rehabilitation will help them more in becoming useful citizens and not reoffending. If you lock them up in the children's jail, which we call juvenile detention center, they mingle with other children who are more aggressive and a more serious criminal record, and they come out hardened. In terms of untreated and unidentified mental disorders, we have to find a way to screen early, right from preschool, right from infancy for neurodevelopmental disorders. And we have to find people in the community, in the school, and train them to provide support in those environments, as well as do whatever they can safely and effectively. And there will be definitely cases which have to be referred to child and adolescent mental health clinics. And we have to work in collaboration with the school and the communities they come from. So when that happens, youth can redefine themselves in a way that is free from what their well-washed, mal-conditioned brain is telling them, and in a way that identifies the unlimited potential of just being human offers. Youth use this new awareness of their real worth to free their brain from darkness of depression and terror of anxiety. Youth should be able to fully enjoy the excitement of learning, and the fun of putting real effort to master information recommended. And when that happens for a student, school becomes exciting opportunity to explore and hone skills, not a place of boredom and torture they will find excuse to avoid. Examination is not a slaughterhouse, and they don't feel like lambs being dragged to slaughterhouse, as one of my patients told me. It becomes an opportunity to know what you know and know what you don't know so that you can know it going forward if you need to. And for teachers, teaching doesn't become a chore and arduous effort with little chance of success. It becomes an opportunity to inspire students towards joyful learning. And examination for them would be an opportunity to know what the students know and know what the students don't know so they can teach them in a way they understand and remember better going forward. And parents will look at children as headache, not as a headache and problem, but see them as precious blessing who bring mysterious gifts to this world, and understand that their job is to love and nurture and provide opportunities to gloriously unwrap those gifts and help the children to own those gifts, hone them, and present them to the world. Life becomes an opportunity to discover and develop your gifts that is mysteriously wrapped and will be gloriously unwrapped. And it becomes an adventurous experience, home of health and happiness, and an opportunity to live, love, laugh, learn, and leave a legacy. And when we change mindset one by one, family by family, community by community, school by school, the system must change. In other words, powerful will try to empower the powerless. Rich will think about enriching poor too. And JDF will dismantle DDF like Don's Defense Force and demilitarize inner cities. And missionaries will become selfless servant leaders. And we conserve instead of consume more. We will have free electricity obtained from the sunlight, wind and water, geothermal sources than the current one, which is expensive and is used, uses the gas to produce
This is a message from the Early Childhood Commission. Do you have a child between 0 to 2 years of age? If yes, you need to download the ECC's First 1000 Days app. It allows you to receive parenting tips, track developmental milestones, learn about the Brain Builder concept, receive relevant articles and research, plus interactive content. The First 1000 Days app, now available for download on the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. This is a message from the Early Childhood Commission.
Hi, I'm Kadian. The Early Childhood Commission is delighted to present to you the First 1000 Days app. This app will give you access to information on the first 1000 days of your child's life. You will be able to track developmental milestones, and we will give you an opportunity to connect with parents as well as with the Early Childhood Commission. I will now give you 3 simple steps to download the app to your Android device.
Step 1. Go to the Google Play Store and search for First 1000 Days. That is 1ST 1000 days. Step number 2. Open the app and sign up with an email or your Facebook or Twitter accounts. Step number 3 is the easiest of them all. Enjoy the features of this wonderful app.
That was a message brought to you by the Early Childhood Commission.
The following is a message from the Early Childhood Commission.
Did you know that the first 1000 days of life is the most important time to the development of the brain and mind of a little child? We have to make sure good nutrition is a must. Stimulation is another plus. Find the time to read and sing to them. Make sure the kids come first, and not because it seems they don't have no cares. We must protect their eyes and ears. Abuse and violence can affect them for years and years.
Today's children will become tomorrow's citizens. If we fail to give them the proper foundation to healthy and productive lives, our future will be at risk. Remember, the first 1000 days of a child's life matter. Ensure they receive love, protection, stimulation, and nutrition.
That was a message from the Early Childhood Commission.
Thank you, Dr. Shetty, for that thought-provoking presentation on changing the mindset from job slaves to creative potential. I'll be sharing my takeaways with you today. 1, focus on a growth mindset, which motivates children and leads to higher efficiency. 2, parents, you are to praise your children for their effort rather than their talent. And 3, when we change mindsets one at a time, the society will eventually change. I'll now be sharing some of the comments that we had during the presentation. We had Karen Scott sharing that it was a great presentation. We had Karine Heath, who said very interesting presentation, and we had Veronica Parkins Burnett, who said food for thought, a good presentation, Dr. Shetty. Thank you once more. Our next plenary session is being presented by Dr. Miguel Barker from 10:15 to 11:15, and his topic is Thinking Visible in Early Childhood Classrooms. Dr. Miguel Barker knows that critical thinking students are powerful learners. This is his 26th year in education, with an enviable track record in numerous leadership roles encompassing all flagships of secondary education in the UK and internationally. His presentation style confronts participants' current thinking and ultimately transforms their conceptual understanding. He firmly believes that learning happens in a thinking culture. Dr. Barker is a proud graduate of the College of Agriculture Case in Portland and the University of the West Indies. He holds a doctorate in international instructional leadership. He is currently the chairman of the Jamaica Middle East Diaspora Education Task Force, JMED, and ASCD Connected Community Ambassador, a trustee for the Values and Visions Foundation, a UK-based charity, and a fellow of the Association for the Advancement of International Education. Dr. Barker is currently an assistant principal and MYP coordinator. He is the director of Embark Education Limited, a consultancy focused on providing solutions to problems faced by educational institutions. Join us at 10:15 for Dr. Barker's presentation. The following is a message from the Early Childhood Commission. Hi everyone! As we prepare for the reopening of early childhood institutions, you are being reminded that spacing for children should maintain ECC standards of 20 square feet per child and must maintain physical distancing of no less than 3 feet apart. Stay tuned for protocols from the Early Childhood Commission as we prepare to open all early childhood institutions. That was a message brought to you by the Early Childhood Commission. The following is a message from the Early Childhood Commission. Hi, it's me again, reminding you of some of our protocols as we prepare for the opening of early childhood institutions. Remember to rearrange desks and chairs to face one direction. And remember at all times that you should be wearing your mask in the classroom. Remember that you should be keeping the windows and doors open for proper ventilation. Stay tuned for more protocols from the Early Childhood Commission. That was a message brought to you by the Early Childhood Commission. The following is a message from the Early Childhood Commission.
Did you know that the first 1,000 days of life is the most important time to the development of the brain and the mind of a little child? We have to make sure good nutrition is a must. Stimulation is another plus. Find the time to read and sing to them. Make sure the kids come first. And not because it seems they don't have no cares. We must protect their eyes and ears. Abuse and violence can affect them for years and years. Brain builders, brain builders, brain builders. We are the brain builders.
That was a message brought to you by the Early Childhood Commission. The following is a message from the Early Childhood Commission.
This is Wayne Marshall, and I'm working with the Early Childhood Commission on the new Brain Builders Initiative, where we're focusing on the children, we're focusing on the first 1,000 days of life. That is the time span from conception to 2 years of age. And it's a time when foundations are established for health, growth, and development. We have to really focus on the kids at this stage of their development.
That was a message brought to you by the Early Childhood Commission. This is a message from the Early Childhood Commission. Do you have a child between 0 to 2 years of age? If yes, you need to download the ECC's First 1000 Days app. It allows you to receive parenting tips, track developmental milestones, learn about the Brain Builder concept, receive relevant articles and research, plus interactive content. The First 1000 Days app, now available for download on the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store.
Hi, I'm Kadian. The Early Childhood Commission is delighted to present to you the First 1000 Days app. This app will give you access to information on the first 1000 days of your child's life. You will be able to track developmental milestones, and we will give you an opportunity to connect with parents as well as with the Early Childhood Commission. I will now give you 3 simple steps to download the app to your Android device.
Step 1. Go to the Google Play Store and search for First 1000 Days. That is 1ST 1000 days. Step number 2. Open the app and sign up with an email or your Facebook or Twitter accounts. Step number 3 is the easiest of them all. Enjoy the features of this wonderful app.
That was a message brought to you by the Early Childhood Commission.
The following is a message from the Early Childhood Commission.
Did you know that the first 1,000 days of life is the most important time to the development of the brain and mind of a little child? We have to make sure good nutrition is a must. Stimulation is another plus. Find the time to read and sing to them. Make sure the kids come first. And not because it seems they don't have no cares. We must protect their eyes and ears. Abuse and violence can affect them for years and years.
Today's children will become tomorrow's citizens. If we fail to give them the proper foundation to healthy and productive lives, our future will be at risk. Remember, the first 1,000 days of a child's life matter. Ensure they receive love, protection, stimulation, and nutrition.
That was a message from the Early Childhood Commission.
The following is a message from the Early Childhood Commission. Hi everyone! As we prepare for the reopening of early childhood institutions, you are being reminded that spacing for children should maintain ECC standards of 20 square feet per child and must maintain physical distancing of no less than 3 feet apart. Stay tuned for protocols from the Early Childhood Commission as we prepare to open all early childhood institutions. That was a message brought to you by the Early Childhood Commission. The following is a message from the Early Childhood Commission. Hi, it's me again, reminding you of some of our protocols as we prepare for the opening of early childhood institutions. Remember to rearrange desks and chairs to face one direction. And remember at all times that you should be wearing your mask in the classroom. Remember that you should keep windows and doors open for proper ventilation. Stay tuned for more protocols from the Early Childhood Commission. That was a message brought to you by the Early Childhood Commission.
3, 2, 1.
Our next plenary session is being presented by Dr. Miguel Barker from 10:15 to 11:15. His topic is Thinking Visible in Early Childhood Classrooms. Dr. Miguel Barker knows that critical thinking students are powerful learners. This is his 26th year in education. He has an enviable track record in numerous leadership roles encompassing all aspects of secondary education in the UK and internationally. His presentation style confronts participants' current thinking and ultimately transforms their conceptual understanding. He firmly believes that learning happens in a thinking culture. Dr. Barker is a proud graduate of the College of Agriculture, Science and Education and the University of the West Indies. He holds a doctorate in international education, instructional leadership. He is currently the chairman of the Jamaica Middle East Diaspora Education Task Force, an ASD Connected Community Ambassador, a trustee for the Values and Visions Foundation, a UK-based charity, and a fellow of the Association for the Advancement of International Education. Dr. Barker is the director of Embark Education Limited, a consultancy focused on providing solutions to problems faced by educational institutions. Please welcome Dr. Miguel Barker.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Let me just get that screen going. Thank you very, very much for such a wholesome introduction. And I'm looking forward to sharing some of the things I've learned and some of the things I'm still trying to get an understanding of with my fellow educators. So just need to get some clarity whether that I'm coming through quite clearly. I don't know if I'm being heard absolutely clearly. It's a little bit of a difficulty for me to know. Okay, good. Okay, so Today's topic is about making thinking visible in early childhood classrooms. And, I really wanted to have this conversation. When I was contacted by JD Tanner and they said, can you get involved? Something I really wanted to share because it may be one of the most powerful ideas that I've come across in all the time I've been an educator. Someone mentioned, 26 years. So really, really thankful. And I hope that as I start to discuss this topic, I hope that it gets you to think a little bit more about your role as an educator and perhaps allow you to consider a different approach, a different thinking, maybe take different stance in the educational process. So let us get going. So a little bit about me, just to give you an idea about my background. I am Jamaican, as they say, I'm Jamaican. And just to know to the finer point on it, I am a proud St. Mary person, as them say, a St. Mary me come from. And where you see I put this at a dot right here, this is a not a beer, and a proud and not to be a person from around the lane, and not to be all age, all and not to be a people. I want to say on St. Mary people, it's representing. So I'm really, really proud of that. Attended St. Mary High School, Faith and Courage, then went on to the University of the West Indies. Fully educated Jamaican, educated in Jamaica. And then I went overseas. In 2002, I kind of got a point where I wanted to see something different, and I went to work in the UK. I spent 10 years in their state educational system. And, in that time, there's a lot that I learned, about education, and gave me a chance to juxtapose what was happening in Jamaica and what was happening in the UK. But even then, I really wanted to learn more. So I then moved to the Middle East, and I went into a place called Oman, a place called Muscat. And that's where I've been for the past 9 years. In that time, so you see, this is the thing, it's a Jamaica Middle East Diaspora. That's the group that I chair, the Education Task Force. And we're doing a number of projects in Jamaica, trying to impact the educational system in some ways. And we have done some work in early childhood as well, trying to provide, tablets and so on within the early childhood sector. So we're really trying to get there. But also, I have a designation as a fellow with the Institute of Mathematics and Applications. That's in the UK. It's a premier mathematics organization in the UK. And I'm also a fellow with the association, the Advancement in International Education. The reason why international education is because I am with the IB. For the past 7 years, I've been coordinating one of the IB programs. And in that program, it's an inquiry-based program. And I think one of the greatest learning I've had as an educator is working within that program. And one of the responsibilities I had was to develop the curriculum, to implement, to design the curriculum, and to deliver the curriculum. So there's a lot of real opportunities hands-on to really critically examine curriculum and have some agency in growing a curriculum. Now, there's a Facebook group that I run. It's a professional learning community. I really want people to get involved. You can reach me on email, and I tweet a lot. I'm on Twitter. Reach out to me on Math. And if you really want to follow up after listening to my presentation, these are the areas in which you can catch me. So one of the things I want to do, is really invite you to join me on this journey as we consider what it means to make thinking visible. And as I go through, I'll attribute where these thoughts come from. It's not my original thoughts. These are things that I've just experienced as an educator. But I want to begin the session by asking you a very simple question. As an educator, what do you believe are the conditions for powerful learning to occur? As an educator, what do you believe are the conditions for powerful learning to occur? And I'd like you to just type whatever you believe to be. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to type in the chat, what do you believe are the conditions for powerful learning to occur? What do you believe? And I'll give you 30 seconds just to give me some idea about what are the thinkings that you have about. What do you believe are the conditions for powerful learning to occur? And I know that there's a bit of a lag, so I'll maybe just carry on because there's maybe a little bit of a lag on YouTube. Motivation and a drive to succeed, Matique says, and I'm just trying to keep up with that. So 30 seconds, but what I wanted to do was to share with you a list that, the conditions for powerful learning to occur. Here is a list that almost every educator will make, some connection to this list, safe in environment, as if someone saying that, interesting questions, all of these things people will always be saying are the conditions. If these are in the learning environment, powerful learning will occur. And I really wanted to share this because this is a list that I think every educator will agree is a powerful, these are the kind of things that need to be there for powerful learning to occur. Now, here is some things that people will never say when we ask these questions. When we're in an educative discussion and we say, Tell us the conditions for powerful learning to occur. Here's a list that no one ever says. Sitting in rows. Nobody will ever tell you that powerful learning occurs when kids are sitting in rows. Nobody will say if it is one curriculum for all students. Doesn't matter whether they are at different age, different developmental level, mental level, different everything, maturity. No one ever says, just give them one curriculum, everybody will benefit. No one ever says no agency. Don't give them any opportunity to own the learning or have a voice in the learning. Yeah? No relevance to their lives. No one ever says these things. No one ever says same age group. Just put them in the same age group. It doesn't matter because they're all the same. No one says don't give them choice. No one says don't teach them anything that have no real world application. No one says it must be teacher control. No one says it must be teacher led. No one says someone else's question, meaning kids are answering someone else's questions. No one ever says these things. No one. Very important to notice that no one ever says this. But the fact is, if we looked in our school and the way the systems are set up, quite likely we'll see more of these things than what we would have said should be there. And the real problem here is that we have beliefs as educators, but in terms of what we practice, we sometimes have to, let's say, compromise a little bit with what the system forces us to do. So in a sense, no one ever says these things, but we live in a world like this. And one of the things that as educators my first challenge to you as educators is that we need to align our practice with the things that we actually believe. We have to align our practices with our beliefs. Very important as educators that we do this, because we live in a world where we have things that we believe in, but we are offering a kind of education that seems to contradict those things. This is the reality that we face as educators. So I want to share with you a little story. And it's a story that if you have seen me do any speeches before, talks anymore, you might hear me talk about it because it means a lot. And it talks about an elephant in a zoo. A father and his family, they're walking, family were visiting the zoo and they're walking around. And as they were walking around, one of the little boys, one of his sons said to him, "Dad, I have a real question I want to share." And he said, "Okay, tell me what's going on." He said, "I noticed that this big, strong elephant seems to be tied to a very small pole on a very flimsy rope." And he said, "I can't understand how is it that such a powerful animal can be kept under control by such a very simple thing. Why doesn't he just break away and go running away? Why? Why doesn't he just break away and go running away?" The father at the time, obviously is a visitor, is unaware what this was. I mean, for him, it was also a puzzle. So he thought the best thing to do was ask somebody when he had the chance. So he just told his son that maybe the elephant is domesticated, not interested in running away, maybe staying for food and that kind of thing. But it still puzzled him. So during one of the opportunities that he had, he saw one of the persons working at the zoo and he posed the same conundrum to the person and said, "Tell me, exactly why is this the case? My son is perplexed by this." And so the zookeeper said to him, "I'll tell you what really happens. You see that elephant that you see here? He came to this zoo when he was just a baby elephant, quite small. He was born in this zoo. And what we did was tie a rope around his leg just to keep him in that space. When he was young, every single day for about 6 months, he would pull against the rope. Try as he might, he couldn't break the rope. The rope was much too strong for him at the time. As he grew older, after a while he gave up. As he grew older, he stopped trying to break the rope. He assumed that the rope was unbreakable because, as his memory told him, it couldn't be broken. He's now a big elephant, but now he still believes the same, that the rope is unbreakable. The very same rope that had been tied around his leg, he believes is unbreakable, even now when he's able to break it. Now, the reason why it's a powerful tale about control and how if we set limits for our learners our own limits. It can affect the limits that they give themselves. And when we think about this analogy, I want you to think about what role do we play as educators in this story? Are we the rope? Are we the stick? Are we the zookeeper? Are we the elephant? Yeah? And what roles are your children playing in this same scenario? You know, in terms of, are we limiting them because of what we need to control? And in doing so, do we limit their potential to be what they can be? And so it is something that I want you to think about as I go through this presentation, the idea of us moving outside of our comfort zone, taking our kids outside of their comfort zone, because we as educators need to be comfortable outside of our comfort zone. And so I'll share, you know, as we move on. So what my presentation is really about today is about promoting thinking in your classroom, your early childhood classroom. And every teacher will say, but I do that. But I really want you, I want to invite you to just allow me to explain the intentionality behind what I'm speaking about compared to the things that may happen on a daily basis in our classroom. We're all great educators. And so the reality of it is that we do good things. But one of the things I want to ask is, to what extent are we promoting thinking? Or are we seeing thinking as a byproduct of the learning that we provide, the content that we teach? Is it like we walk into the lesson and say, I am going to teach thinking? You know, when we begin teaching, we start to think about what we are going to cover in the classroom. What is in my head that I need to get into my students' head? You know, look at it. What is in my head that I want to get into my students' head? Perhaps we need to change our mindset and start off by saying, I wonder if I can, you know, what is in their head that I need to get into my head so that I can be the better teacher for them. So when we think about promoting thinking in our classroom, I want you to start thinking about, how do we create opportunities for our students to think? We're not talking about remembering things. I'm talking thinking, really thinking through things, cogitating, percolating, contemplating, deliberating. Yeah? That kind of thinking, synthesizing, analyzing. These are the kind of things I'm talking about. When in our teaching, and you know you're in an early childhood classroom, I'm going to show you the way that I want to invite you to give me a chance to share how we can make these higher level thinking happen in our classrooms. I really want to share that with you. And then in order for us to create the opportunities for students to think and promote thinking, we're going to have to now make their thinking visible. And you might say, how do we do that? Stay with me. Because the real thing here, if we are going to help them to become better thinkers, we have to see what their thinking looks like so we can operate and give them the condition, the situations to improve their thinking and to think about their thinking, metacognition, you know, think about their thinking. So we want to create opportunities for students to think, and we want to make their thinking visible. When we talk about thinking, you know, as we go back into our educational experience, our training tells us about Bloom's taxonomy, and everybody will immediately remember, oh, the Bloom's taxonomy, we have to make sure that we connect to it. The thing is, educated beyond maybe even basic school, you know, beyond that, some maybe even educated beyond primary school. And you listen to the analysis that they use when you're playing a game of dominoes, and you know that there's a higher level of thinking that's maybe devoid of, not even necessary for them to remember anything. They just know and they understand. And so I want you to understand that, you know, it's not so much that the Bloom's taxonomy is wrong, but in terms of when we think about thinking, it's really not, it's focusing a lot more on teaching and not on learning. And one of the things that I'll be asking you to do is to start shifting that thinking and focusing more on learning rather than teaching. So I want to invite you to start to go to the website. You know, there's a website called from the Harvard Graduate School of Education. And they have a project that's called Project Zero. Project Zero is, and Jamaica needs one as well. You know, they started this project way back in the 60s, in the same time when the Bloom taxonomy was created. And they realized that the focus in education at the time was on teaching. And so they decided that they were going to create a new approach to education, talking about teaching for understanding, meaning shifting the focus from teaching to learning. So getting into the minds of the learner rather than from the minds of the teacher. So whereas we'd be thinking about what I'm going to teach, they were trying to understand how do students learn and trying to allow educators to think in this way. You know, thinking this way. So the Project Zero was called Project Zero because at the time there was nothing like this happening in the US for that matter. And so they wanted to start this off. And since then, they have built a number of projects within Project Zero. And one of the projects is the Visible Thinking Initiative, which is the one that I'll be sharing a little bit about. And my experience with this is that we're implementing that in my workplace. But the main thing is that I've been in sessions with some of the main people and I've gotten a deep understanding of how this works. So what they came up with was that learning is really a consequence of thinking. Now, we might say, yeah, but the thing is they view learning as an outcome that you get when you ask students to think. It's not something that they can do and say, you don't have to think about it. It was a consequence of thinking. And the evidence of that was that students who didn't learn through thinking by creating a motive based on thinking, those learners did not retain. They couldn't transfer information into other areas. Learning and thinking are seen as as much a collective enterprise, meaning working with people, social experience. By God's Skill, we'll talk a lot about that, as much as it's an individual endeavor. Learning involves uncovering complexity and delving deeply. One of the most powerful thoughts around this was that questions not only drive learning, but also are the outcomes of learning. You know, not only drive learning, now allow yourself to let that cogitate, percolate that idea, that questions not only drive learning, but also are outcomes of learning. Now imagine my time when I was going to school. Questions are outcomes of learning. Allow that to think about that for a bit. When I was going to school, answers are the outcomes of learning. And I can tell you the answers that I gave in my class were the ones I thought my teacher would give me full marks for. If I had any other answer that I thought was different, I'm not sharing it. I was not going to ask the questions. But here we have a different stance that says questions are outcomes of learning. Imagine a situation where you're finished teaching and then kids are asking questions. Think about curiosity. Think about inquiry-based learning. So this was the mindset of this program, the mind frame that this program was conceptualized in. And so I'm inviting you into thinking about things this way. So the Visible Thinking Project, as I say, it's one of the projects that are within that Project Zero initiative, has two main goals. To deepen content learning. So we're not talking about students not learning the things that are important for content, but importantly, they had to cultivate thinking skills within students and thinking dispositions. It was important that not only do we teach content, but we also simultaneously impart strategies for students to develop thinking skills. And we're not talking as a byproduct, but as the main product. As much as how they should remember, how to maybe draw a diagram and label it, they also needed to understand and apply and analyze at the same time. So the Visible Thinking Initiative is a popular initiative worldwide, and it is applicable to all educational settings. It's just a matter of looking at what works in your setting. But every child, it doesn't matter at what age, can think at the highest level. It's not like when they get to grade 10, they start thinking like this. It comes down to the opportunities that we present to our learners. It comes down to those opportunities. So I really want to invite you into this, because I'm having this conversation and I like to invite you into it. And I'm inviting you to go and research more as well. In this session, it's only 1 hour. And by the time you say, as my grandmother, they say, who there? The time is going to be up. But you now need to have questions. So when we finish this, I'm expecting questions as outcomes of this. Now, the book that guides this is a book called Making Thinking Visible, written by Mark Church. And Mark Church, Ron Richard, and Karen Morrison, they put this book together. David Perkins was the guy, one of the starters of the Project Zero initiative in Harvard. And all the resources are free. All. You just need to log onto the site, click, look for what you want, and I'll give you a little snapshot of what happens there. But this is me, and I'm interviewing Mark Church here. He came by and we talked with him, and that's my good friend there. And we just had an interview with him to understand, because I had my own questions, and I really needed to ask him those questions. And in that, some of what I share now as a deeper understanding came from that, that discourse. So when we say we are going to think about something, what do we really mean? There's a saying that says when people say that they are going to think, most times, if someone says, I think it's going to be Saturday tomorrow, it also implies what they believe. In a sense, many people use the term think as a synonym for believe. I think it's going to rain. Effectively, they mean, I believe it's going to rain. But we also know that when someone says they're going to think, there are a number of things that they can do. Now, in the Harvard Project Zero initiative and the Teaching for Understanding project, they identified 8 fundamental thinking skills. Why is this important? This is critical for you to see, because if we start to think of thinking as one thing, the difficulty is, how do we address something as complex as that when it's one thing? But if we can compartmentalize, if we can dissect it, break it into small parts, and understand the different types of thinking that's possible, then maybe we can design activities to extract that thinking out of the learners. Because, Aristotle says that we don't learn anything new. We just need teachers to draw it out. It's already inside. And if you as an educator remember when you're getting that look from your students, it feels like it's coming from inside of them, not from you to them. It's coming out of them. And so we have to create the situations where we can pull that out. So they identified 8 fundamental thinking skills. And as you can see, we do them all the time. They're all different ways of thinking about something. Sometimes you say, I'll think about it. But really what you're doing is making connections. You're not necessarily describing what you are, building an explanation. You're just making a connection. Sometimes you say that you're going to think about it and you're going below the surface of something. Different from saying that you're considering different viewpoints and perspectives. Now, these are all different thinking skills, thinking dispositions, thinking perspectives, thinking actions. Now, if we're going to develop thinking within our learners, if we are going to develop thinking within our learners, we need to make sure that we're identifying these. And I want to ask the question, in an early childhood classroom, could students, your age students, make connections? Can they reason with evidence to say, I think this, and this is the reason? I know it's possible. The thing is, we as educators need to start seeing that these are important foundational learning experiences. And if we put that rope around their feet from so young, they will not do this. They'll start to think, what answer does my teacher want? And give you that answer. And if you teach them that at a young age, when they get to another level, that's exactly what they're going to do. When they get to primary school and high school and all the other schools, they still do it. Are they thinking the teacher has an answer that they want? And my job in that classroom is to figure out what the teacher wants me to say and say it. We have to create a different paradigm where students, the outcome of learning is questions, more questions. I want to know more. I want to, in this digital economy where everything is free, and knowledge economy, everything is out there. Knowledge doesn't have any eminence anymore. It is thinking that is going to be the premium. So when we say making thinking visible, what is visible thinking and how can teachers make thinking visible? Remember, thinking is complex, but it happens internally. So we need to come up with methods and strategies to get those kids to show us what they're thinking so we can then impact on that thinking. We need to see what they're thinking. Because if we can see it, then we can then look and diagnose what's happening and then apply. But not only that, better than that, proactively, if we can design learning experiences where our learners are thinking in a way that we see that what they're thinking, then we can ensure that they can think clearly and have motives and scaffolds to ensure that they can think clearly. So, and why should we make thinking visible? As I pointed out, it's important because if we can see, then we can help. And if we can allow them to share, then others in the classroom can see what they're doing and model that thinking. They can see that thinking and they can model that thinking, which is important because, you know, one of the things I see in one school that I've been in, they talk about family classes. And a family class was a concept I've never heard of before. The idea of a family class was that rather than having, you know, and I'm talking about K1, K2, which maybe would be like in an early childhood setup. I don't even know what it's called really exactly, but K1, K2, you know, kindergarten 1, kindergarten 2. And so when they're in those classes, what they did, rather than having them as K1, K2, that school decided to create what they call family classes, where they have like all 3 grade levels in one class, vertical classes, closer to Montessori, but not necessarily. And what they saw was that they could allow older learners to model certain things to the younger ones. And some kids are at different developmental levels, so they don't have to rely on everyone on the same level. They can work with kids who are, or they can model, or they can work with or collaborate with others. So, you know, they're idea, but why should we make thinking visible? We need to see it. As much as you'd say to someone, work out, write it on paper so I can see it. If we can get the thinking to be visible, then as teachers, we can be far more effective if thinking is our goal. So when we make thinking visible, there are 3 ways we can make thinking visible. We can make it visible through questioning. And in that sense, we can model interest, you know, how interested I am in what you're saying. You know, a lot of times students don't think teachers are interested in what they have to say. We ask questions sometimes if the answer is not what we really want, then maybe we move on to someone else. Yeah, we allow them to construct understanding because you want to see if they're understanding what you're sharing. And so questioning allows us to make this happen. Yeah, question allows us to make that happen. And it also allows them to clarify their own thinking, which is powerful because that's when we're moving into agency. You know, we're talking about voice, choice, and ownership. So questioning is a powerful tool in terms of making thinking visible. Listening, and I'll come back to this because listening is an underused tool in a classroom. Listen, we need to plan for listening, and I'll certainly talk a little bit more about this, but we need to listen for answers and convey respect. Sometimes, you know, when students are speaking, if we actively listen to them, it conveys to them respect and it allows them to feel like their thinking is valuable, not only valued, but also valid. And so what we want to do as educators is learn to listen more. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. But importantly, the next step of making thinking visible is to document it with notes and photographs and capture that thinking in your classroom because we want them to think that thinking is an important thing. We want them to understand that thinking is really what this is about. No one is interested in whether you can draw a diagram of the animal cell because that's not needed in the world. What is needed is thinking, creative thinking, critical thinking, transfer of knowledge and skills and applying those into other areas. Metacognition, powerful way of documenting learning. That's when your students are thinking about thinking and they're analyzing their own thinking and saying, I could have thought about this in a different way. Now, you know, we often think as educators that we're teaching when we're talking, right? That's how we often think as educators, that we're teaching when we're talking and they are learning when they are listening. That's what we often think. You know, I'm teaching when I'm talking and they are learning when they are listening. So you would maybe admonish them to say, be quiet, listen, pay attention. We often think we're teaching when we're talking and we're learning when we're listening. But I'm inviting you to consider another stance. What if they are learning when they are talking and we're teaching when we are listening? I spoke about listening before. I really want you to just take a pause and think about that. What if they are learning when they are talking and we're teaching when we are listening? Let's think about that. What if that is what we need to do? Then here's the power behind that. If we believe that when they're talking, they're learning, then it means that at that time you need to decide, how do I ensure that I give them something to talk about so I can walk around? You see, when we get a chance for them to be quiet, and they're talking to each other, it's not a time to go and check your emails or say, I need to get some work done or fix this shelf that was falling apart or pack away the books. That's the time the teacher walks around and listen. What if we're teaching when we're listening? So it means the kind of activity that we ask our students to engage in. The kind of activities that we ask our students to engage in must be so powerful that when we're walking around, we can hear the kind of conversations that they're having. What if they're learning when they're talking and we're teaching when they're listening? It's a powerful piece, and I want you to remember this because we're coming back to it. What happens when adults take a stance to be students of their students? We spend too much time trying to teach math and teach counting and we're not spending time, trying to focus on our students. We're not teaching math and we're not teaching them their phonics, and we're teaching students. We're teaching people. And people, the only part of a person that is important in the learning process is not anything else. No, it's child-centered. It's not anything else. There's nothing else in the process that's important except the brain. The hands can't do anything. The feet can't do anything. Yeah? It's really the brain that we're focusing on. And all of our teaching, all our planning is about the brain. So if we're teaching the brain, we have to focus on the students. We are teaching students. And so we need to stop sometimes and say, I need to cover this, cover this, cover this. No, Noam Chomsky says we need to stop focusing on what we cover and focus on what they discover. Yeah. So we need to bring this in, this what if piece. I really want people to think about. We have to shift our mind, our framing, because the problems stay, but our framing can change. So we need to wonder about, where do we take the stance to meaningfully listen to our students? We really need to take a stance here as educators that we are going to start listening, because we need to know. We begin the learning experience by going, I have these things in my head I want to put into their head. That's my job as a teacher. But guess what? If we take a different stance and say, you know what? I wonder, what if I try to find out what is in their head and put that into my head? I might be a better teacher for them, because I'm now trying to understand them as people. So we need to meaningfully listen. Yeah, meaningfully listen. You see what I'm bringing listening, I'm bringing listen. They say listening is listen. If you spin the word listen around, you get silent. Sometimes we need to listen as teachers, stop talking and listen. And then we don't have to use the buzzwords about critical thinking and creative thinking. No, we don't really need to. We don't need to. We just need to give them the opportunities to think meaningfully. And then once we do that, we'll start to see them doing those thinking rather than focusing so much and ticking a box. We're trying to ensure focus on them because, as I said before, we're teaching students. All right? So very important. So, there's someone who once said, and I don't know who to say, they said listening is an act of love. As an educator, and even in your relationships, just think about that. Listening is an act of love. It's not me. And as a teacher, you can demonstrate this love. Yeah? Demonstrate this love by listening, letting them feel valued, as someone said at the top. They need to feel valued. So we need to show that listening is an act of love. Yeah? So the Harvard Project Zero focuses on thinking routines. They believe that the way it's designed is that We have routines for students to develop different types of thinking. So I mentioned the 8 different thinking, and they have different routines that focuses. The end goal is to allow students to get to that level of thinking. So what they do, they have what they call tools. So they provide the tools, and that type of tool focuses on a specific type of thinking, whether it's going to be making connections, whether it's going to be building explanation, whether it's going to be forming an argument, whether it's going to be wondering about ideas. But that tool is designed and it's there for you on the website. This tool have a structure. They provide a step-by-step structure so that you can scaffold that learning. So you don't have to make these ideas up. You just need to say, I want my kids. You start out by thinking what learning you want your kids to have in terms of thinking. And then you find the activity that allows that to happen, and you integrate that into your teaching. And the patterns, you try to develop these patterns so that our learners will begin to see that thinking manifesting itself inside of them first, but also in others. And so they can identify that that person is utilizing that thinking motive in different situations. So, there are routines, or they say thinking moves, because there's this view that people who think critically or think creatively or transfer have certain moves they make. Like a footballer who has certain skills, same way people who think a certain way, they have certain moves, and they are called thinking moves. So these routines, the visible thinking routines, they're all there. And you need to sign them and spend some time analyzing which ones you're going to focus on. I'm sharing a picture with you, and I'm going to give you about 20 seconds, and I'm going to walk you through a process here. And I want you just, in the chat, you can write down, what do you see? I really don't want anything else except what you see. What do you see when you look at this picture? And feel free to but don't interpret the picture. Don't do anything else. I just want you to say things that you see. And imagine this, you can be you, or you can be an early childhood learner, a basic school learner. And say, I show them this picture and say, tell me something that you see. What do you see? What do you see? And I'm giving like about 20 seconds for people to think about what do you see. What do you see when you look at this picture? Someone says, we need to think about what do we. Somebody said 3 children having fun. What do you see? What do you see? All right. Next, me ask another question. What do you think is happening? What do you think is happening? I'm asking this question now. What do you think is happening? What do you think is happening? So it's stepping up a little bit. What do you think? Someone said express themselves. They are just enjoying themselves. Yeah. Children posing for a picture. Someone say happy. Now, here's another thought process as we move through this. Here's another thought process. In this scenario, a child may say, I see children striking a pose and having fun. You as the educator can move their level of thinking by simply asking them to say, what do you see in this picture? What evidence do you have that makes you say that? What evidence do you have in this picture that makes you say that? I want you to imagine your younger kids now making an argument to defend something that they see. What do you see that makes you say that? Now we're getting them to think deeper, because we're not asking them just to say 3 and boys and hats and anything. No, they're thinking, you're starting to see them thinking. They're now thinking deeper, because they now need to justify what they saw and what they're thinking. They're now thinking deeper. So we're asking them to think deeper. But the next level on this is to say, now that you have seen it and you thought something, what do you wonder? What do you wonder? What do you wonder about when you look at this picture? What do you wonder about? Some wonderings I may have, may be that I wonder if they're going to a party. I wonder if they're still friends. You know, I wonder if they're alive. You know, I wonder if, you know, they're brothers and sisters. You know, I wonder if they're just acting. Yeah. You know, I'm wondering, but you can imagine the number, and now I'm getting them to go into creativity. Can they get this wrong? No one can get the answer to this question wrong. They can wonder for free. You know, so they're wondering now. They're wondering, and they're wondering if they're at their home or they're going to a party. They're at the party. I wonder if this is a set of famous people who we didn't know that they were friends when they were kids. And I wonder why are they so happy? The point is, if you put this kind of question, you can start to generate a certain kind of discussion. Just imagine where this is on the level on that. Let me show you another picture. Same question, what do you see? And when you see this picture, what do you think? What do you wonder? What do you see? What do you think about? What do you wonder? I see an older girl with 6 children. I think she might have seen them, or she is a friend and she's walking them home. And she knows them, or she's the sister of one of these children, or some of them, and she's responsible for. Why do I think that? Well, I think of that because as a the younger ones, somebody older needs to go with them. And I think it's their sister. That's my feeling. And because they look happy and they feel comfortable around her, I think that's the case. I wonder if they have far to go. I wonder if they're going to school. I wonder if they're coming from school. I wonder if it's lunchtime. I wonder if she found them on the way by themselves and they were lost and she found them and everybody is happy. There's a lot of stuff. I'm wondering. But the point here is it's getting kids to speak in a way. And someone say, I wonder if they're Jamaican. There's a lot going on here, but can you imagine the generative conversations that can come from this? Because you're seeing, you're thinking, you're wondering. Now, what I just did was walk you through one of the routines that exist in the Harvard project here. And one of my favorite, the See, Think, Wonder routine. It's a routine for exploring works of art and other interesting things. It can be used anywhere, but people, put works of art, pictures like this or videos, and just ask kids, what do you see? What do you think? What do you wonder? And there are many ways in which you can use that. One of them is that you could say they need to speak by I see, think, and wonder in one go. I see this, I think something of what's going on, and I wonder. Yeah? They can do that. Or you can let them do it in step by step like I just modeled for you. The main point is that it generates a kind of thinking that says you can't just think something without having something to justify it. And when you see situations, I want you to not to think about what I have as an answer, but what you think is possible. We're getting that creative and critical thinking going in a natural way. My final picture, what do you see? Because I want to what do you see? What do you see? Have a look at this picture. What do you see? What do you see when you look at this picture? Someone, we need to start thinking, what do we see? Now, if you're an early childhood student, maybe you won't see some of the powerful messages that are going on here, but you still see things. What do you see? Yeah? What do you think is happening here? And then what you think is happening, what do you wonder about when you look at a picture like this? What do you see? What do you think? What do you wonder about when you look at a picture like this? Now, I'll give you the history of it, but the power here is that I look at some of the feedback already, people talking about segregation, people talking about racism, sad teachers, sad students, person at a meeting with books, all kind of stuff is coming out, deep ideas. I can use a routine like this to move into a unit of work. Like kids will have questions. Because when they say, I wonder if, you can use that as a launch pad for the learning. I wonder, and it's a launch pad for the learning experience, because this actually is the story about a guy called George Macaulay who got into a university in the US. And because at the time there was segregation, he wasn't allowed to sit inside of the classroom. But your students don't need to know that fact in order to engage, because we walk them through, I see, I think, I wonder. We're taking them through. And then at the end of it, they'll have so many questions. They will want to investigate. Even you could bring the most powerful ideas even into an early childhood classroom, because the kids now have questions. Why is this black man sitting outside and looking inside? It looks like it's white people inside and black man outside. He's actually outside the classroom sitting in the door. I have someone who looked at this picture once and said, it looks like he's a teacher. And they are the students. So there's a lot going on here. But the idea is that there's no limit to how these things can work, you see. I see, I think, I wonder. A powerful routine. And I hope people try that routine. So another powerful one, and I won't go to it, is the most powerful. I think this is the magic question that you can have as an educator. You need to keep this in your back pocket. Write it up on a wall somewhere. This is one of the most powerful questions you can get have in your classroom, and allow your learners to really, really engage in thinking and the value of backing up whatever they're saying. Yeah? In this question, the question says, what makes you say that? What makes you say that? You see, when you as a teacher have a classroom where when your children say something and you turn to them and say, what makes you say that? And that has nothing to do with a right answer or a wrong answer. It has a lot more to do with when the child says something, what's going on? And they say, for example, the man is, what makes you say that? What makes you say that? Just imagine how that can transform the way how people relate in a classroom. You're giving them ownership. You're giving them a chance to share what makes you say that. Yeah? And the power of this is it's getting them to now realize that when they make a point, they now need to support that point. What makes you say that? Yeah, and the idea is that you can develop the kind of classroom culture where your students will even say that to other students when they feel like the point is being made without. And they develop that in a culture. Because remember, every classroom has a culture. There's a culture of thinking in every classroom. It can be one that we don't think. But while the culture of thinking is present, you need to decide as an educator what role you play in that culture. And you can determine the culture in that classroom by the language that you promote and the behaviors that you promote. And having something like what makes you say that can make a big difference in your classroom. So you control that one part, the culture in your classroom, because whether you do something or not, there is a culture, but you can control it by making intentional steps. Now, there are many routines. Many. There's a new book that came out, and actually when I spoke with him, he gave me a preview to say there's another one coming out at the time. And there are many. I'm not going into all of them because time wouldn't allow it and it wouldn't be meaningful. I spent a lot more time on the See, Think, Wonder routine and what makes you say that, because these are powerful ones and they work well together. So when you say, what do you see? And when you say, what do you think? You can then say, what made you say that? And it allows that kind of generative conversation to happen. It's a powerful tool, powerful. What makes you say that? So as I said, you can go and find out more. The website looks like this, yeah? And the link for the website, I'll put that there so you can go and search for that. If you type Harvard Project Zero Visible Thinking Routine, you will find it. And all of these are links. So if you want to work on perspective taking or synthesizing or introduce, the links are there. You click on it and it gives you all the activities that can do it, and you pick one. Now, what I'd recommend is that you pick one or two of these and stick to them for the rest of your life. No matter try and use all. Just focus on one or two and develop them, you see. So as we come to a close, because, we cannot go on forever, I talk already about the thinking, it's about thinking and listening. We need to get to that point. You see, your culture in your classroom, you control it. You control it. Your action is the most powerful part of a classroom. You can blame, you see, the thing is, there are many things we can't change, but we can change our mindset. We can change what if. What if? What if I do it this way? A lot of people say, my students can't think. They cannot think. They cannot think. They are not sensible. They cannot think. The question you can ask yourself is, what can I do to make sure that they can think in this way? Not they cannot think, but what can I do, to make them they do this, So there are certain stances that I want to finish with. One of them is that we need to plan for where we will listen. Don't just plan what you're going to talk. Are we good at talking? Plan where you're going to listen. And if we were having this conversation in a face-to-face setting, a lot of what I'd be doing is allowing you to just talk with each other, and I'd be walking around and just listening. I want to hear the conversations. Plan in your lesson, this 5 minutes, I am going to listen. And that tells you what would the students be doing at that time then. They're not treading water. They are thinking. Be a student of your students. Important point. You need to be a student. Study them. Spend time trying to understand them rather than you. You already is a made learner, but you need to understand them so you can be a better teacher to them. There are people, you're not teaching maths, you're teaching students. Teach for understanding. Focus on learning, not on teaching. We can be great teachers, but our students don't have to learn. At the time I observed lessons, as the teachers tell me that they did this and they did that, they had a starter, they had this. Kids didn't learn. I said, but what did they learn? I don't know. Most teachers are, so a lot of teachers aren't thinking like that. Because the belief is that if I teach well, then they must learn. And if they didn't learn, it's because something is wrong with them. But we need to know, shift the thinking, to learning, focusing on learning. Choose one of the routines that I shared today and practice it. Don't do it once and then say, Dr. Barker, tell me this and it failed. You're in charge of your classroom. You tried and it didn't work. Try again. You can't stop in the middle, If you're doing a see, think, wonder routine and it going off in the wrong direction, stop. Don't carry on. But practice it to the point where your students get used to the idea that when you start, then you're going to ask them to think. Because if they can start preempting that, they are going to look, they're going to try and be able to say to you, I think this is happening and here is why. And better yet, they're going to start being creative because they're going to start wondering before you get them there. Choose a routine and practice it. Visit the website. I'm begging you, please, visit the website. Visit the website and spend some time on it. Ask what if to change your mindset. And then we talk about the tool set, the mindset, and the skill set. The Harvard Project Zero website provides the tool set. You have the tool set to teach thinking. That's there. It's all there. You now need to develop that what if mindset. That mindset to use the tool set. You need to get the mindset and the tool set together. The mindset that says, I need to focus on teaching thinking. And I need the tools. So you get the tool set and the mindset. And then once you start having that mindset with that tool set, you practice until you develop a skill set. The skill set that allows you to be an effective practitioner of teaching, of thinking in the classroom. So I began with the story about the elephant. And as you can see, my elephant has broken free because I really want you to think about letting free that elephant from very young so he can run around and not trapped by a little string, We need to be careful, Remember what I said. What if they're learning when they're talking and we're teaching when we're listening? What if that is really what's happening? How do we ensure that this powerful learning occurs? As I said, I am available on the Caribbean Educators Professional Learning Community Facebook group. You can email me. I love a conversation about math. Twitter, I'm on Twitter. You can follow me. You can ask me questions. I am there. Finally, I'm finishing in 1 minute. I know you must be tired of me now. Our education system doesn't test intelligence. It tests your memory. We need to now start shifting that. We're not going to get the national positions that Jamaica needs to have in the world if we're going to have a set of people. All they can do is remember. We need thinkers. When they go off into the world and see some people thinking, they realize that there's a high level of thinking that is required. And I can tell you in my experiences working internationally, there are kids who are 5 and 10 talking about thinking in a way that I had to learn this. So it tests your memory. And as I mentioned before, it's not what we cover. It is what they discover. And if we keep this mindset, this approach, this tool set, this mind frame, you know, they talk about the growth mindset. It's not what we cover. It is what they discover. So I come to the end. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for listening to me. You know, as I said, you know, it's just a little man like me from Anata Bay, St. Mary, doing a little presentation, sharing my thoughts. But I've been around the world and I've listened. And I really want my educators to become listeners in their classroom and students of their students. It's not what we cover. It is what they discover. Thank you very much. Peace out. Jamaica land we love. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Barker, for your insightful presentation on thinking visible in early childhood classrooms. I'll be sharing my takeaways with you, followed by some comments, and then we'll share some questions that we got in our chat room. My takeaways: 1, focus on learning rather than teaching. 2, making learning visible, you question, listen, and you document. And 3, questions that help with the visible thinking routine. What do you see? What do you think? What are you wondering? And what makes you say that? So those are my takeaways today. I have 3 comments. Latoya White said, powerful presentation. Debbie Ann Prince, perfectly said. And Annette Morris said, clear and to the point. And 4, Veronica Fleming, these are powerful words. I'm not certain, is Dr. Barker still with us? I have 3 questions. All right, Dr. Barker. So from Marian Francis Stevens, she asked, how do we encourage children to think if they do not find any activity interesting? And this is regardless of the lesson being taught.
That's a very, I think, well, as I said, we certainly need to, I think the thing is about our own stance that we take, you know. We are the ones who have the power in the classroom. We are the ones who design the learning experience. What they need. That's what our role is. So I think what we have to do is get into the mindset of saying, what can I do to teach them those skills? Because they shouldn't come to you as thinkers. They should come to you as a blank slate. You are the educator. And in my view, we now need to shift our mindset and say, I have what I have. But what if that is important for them to have, then I need to find ways of developing those within them. So that's the way that I'd approach it, to say, you know, with your teams, collaborate on it and say, I know they don't show the interest, but there might be a reason. What can we do? And it's maybe that approach. And sometimes if we shift the activities from whether they can say their phonics or whatever to thinking, you might find some of them become a little bit more interesting, because then it's not about the right answer. It's about just an opportunity for them to share what's going on in there. As I say, you're teachers of students.
Thank you, Dr. Barker. The next question is from Diana Nolte. She asks, how can we as practitioners incorporate more thinking skills in our everyday activity plans?
The thing is, what we need to do with thinking routines is not to treat them as if it's a thing. Yeah, we have to be very, very careful that we don't treat it like, you know, we're saying, okay, we're going to do a visible thinking routine, or we're going to do it as a thing. It has to be the way that we conceptualize the learning experience for everyone. So when we're planning, we don't start off by looking at the syllabus. We look at what skills we want the kids to learn, thinking skills. What thinking skills? And that's what we teach. We need to see the content as the vehicle by which we teach those skills. And so the conceptualization has to shift as well. So how we incorporate it, we start off with that first. We say, I want them to learn how to reason with evidence. And then you say, how can I use the content that I intend to teach to get them to do that? And so, even it's simple things you can use to get them to develop those reasoning skills. And the next thing is continuously use those motives in the classroom so that they can see that this is the way you want them to think. It doesn't happen overnight, but over time, they'll start to say to each other, why do you say that? Or what do you wonder? And they'll begin to do these things. It does not overnight. So I would say is just incorporate it, keep going on with it. It's not a one-off, it's not a thing. It is the way that we have to position our teaching. It's a stance we take in the classroom that they must learn how to think.
Thanks again, Dr. Barker. And the third and final question, when you were mentioning interpretation, Dr. Damsel Brown Colthurst wanted to know if what you're saying is that what a child sees, if it has nothing to do with what is correct, but how the child interprets what is placed before him or her.
Could you repeat that question? I didn't understand the essence of it. Sorry.
Okay, are you saying that what a child sees has nothing to do with what is correct, but how the child interprets what is placed before him or her?
Well, there is research to say that, none of what we see is only how we interpret it. Everything that we see colors and we call them what we want to call them. But the fact is, we are the ones who add meaning to the things that we observe. But for a child, we have to move away from the notion of children thinking that they need to have the answer that is in the teacher's head in order to be able to participate. That kind of notion is what undermines the kind of powerful learning environments that are needed for students to develop the critical thinking capacity and the creative thinking capacity and the transfer capacity that they need in this world. They're moving on and we're having lots of exams about how to test critical thinking and how to test creative thinking, but we are not necessarily teaching those skills. So we need to get them to realize that their answers are not only valued, but valid, as long as they can make the case to support what they're thinking. So if any of the pictures that I look at, a child might say to you that I believe that these are, actors, for example, and I say, but why do you say that? And they give me a justification for it. I don't need to know if it's right or wrong because I'm not providing a factual conversation. I'm focusing on their thinking. So I think what the person is asking, yes, is the answer to that. But it is also, again, the stance we need to take that we don't really need to walk into classrooms with right answers and wrong answers. We need to create the opportunity for creative thinking. And that comes by us by treating them as learners first and getting into their head, trying to figure out what's in their head first. This is the basis of inquiry learning. We need to find out what they know first in order to build on it. So this is the key to it. So I hear it's a valid point, and I'm certainly willing to have a discussion about it. It's actually pushing my thinking, but it's just the way it is. Everything that we see is a conception of the life that we have experienced, and that's just the way the world is. We just see things the way we see it, but collaborative discussions and so on are powerful. So I think that's the way that I'd approach that, It's giving them the opportunity to not focus on right answers, because that's not going to help them very much to develop the kind of thinking we need.
Thank you so much, Dr. Barker, for answering the questions from our participants. Dr. Barker marks the end of presentations for the ECC's Virtual Professional Development Institute for 2021. Thanks to Dr. Barker and our participants as well, who were consistent in their interactions in the chat room during his presentation. I'm going to invite everyone to rejoin us at 11:40 when we will have our closing ceremony. The following is a message from the Early Childhood Commission. Hi everyone! As we prepare for the reopening of early childhood institutions, you are being reminded that spacing for children should maintain ECC standards of 20 square feet per child and must maintain physical distancing of no less than 3 feet apart. Stay tuned for protocols from the Early Childhood Commission as we prepare to open all early childhood institutions. That was a message brought to you by the Early Childhood Commission. The following is a message from the Early Childhood Commission. Hi, it's me again, reminding you of some of our protocols as we prepare for the opening of early childhood institutions. Remember to rearrange desks and chairs to face one direction. And remember at all times that you should be wearing your mask in the classroom. Remember that you should be keeping the windows and doors open for proper ventilation. Stay tuned for more protocols from the Early Childhood Commission. That was a message brought to you by the Early Childhood Commission. The following is a message from the Early Childhood Commission.
Did you know that the first 1,000 days of life is the most important time to the development of the brain and the mind of a little child? We have to make sure good nutrition is a must. Stimulation is another plus. Find the time to read and sing to them. Make sure the kids come first. And not because it seems they don't have no cares. We must protect their eyes and ears. Abuse and violence can affect them for years and years. Brain builders, brain builders, brain builders. We are the brain builders.
That was a message brought to you by the Early Childhood Commission. The following is a message from the Early Childhood Commission.
This is Wayne Marshall, and I'm working with the Early Childhood Commission on the new Brain Builders Initiative, where we're focusing on the children, we're focusing on the first 1,000 days of life. That is the time span from conception to 2 years of age. And it's a time when foundations are established for health, growth, and development. We have to really focus on the kids at this stage of their development.
That was a message brought to you by the Early Childhood Commission. This is a message from the Early Childhood Commission. Do you have a child between 0 to 2 years of age? If yes, you need to download the ECC's First 1000 Days app. It allows you to receive parenting tips, track developmental milestones, learn about the Brain Builder concept, receive relevant articles and research, plus interactive content. The First 1000 Days app, now available for download on the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store.
Hi, I'm Kadian. The Early Childhood Commission is delighted to present to you the First 1000 Days app. This app will give you access to information on the first 1000 days of your child's life. You will be able to track developmental milestones, and we will give you an opportunity to connect with parents as well as with the Early Childhood Commission. I will now give you 3 simple steps to download the app to your Android device.
Step 1. Go to the Google Play Store and search for First 1000 Days. That is 1ST 1000 days. Step number 2. Open the app and sign up with an email or your Facebook or Twitter accounts. Step number 3 is the easiest of them all. Enjoy the features of this wonderful app.
That was a message brought to you by the Early Childhood Commission.
The following is a message from the Early Childhood Commission.
Did you know that the first 1,000 days of life is the most important time to the development of the brain and mind of a little child? We have to make sure good nutrition is a must. Stimulation is another plus. Find the time to read and sing to them. Make sure the kids come first. And not because it seems they don't have no ears. We must protect their eyes and ears. Abuse and violence can affect them for years and years.
Today's children will become tomorrow's citizens. If we fail to give them the proper foundation to healthy and productive lives, our future will be at risk. Remember, the first 1,000 days of a child's life matter. Ensure they receive love, protection, stimulation, and nutrition.
That was a message from the Early Childhood Commission.
The following is a message from the Early Childhood Commission. Hi everyone! As we prepare for the reopening of early childhood institutions, you are being reminded that spacing for children should maintain ECC standards of 20 square feet per child and must maintain physical distancing of no less than 3 feet apart. Stay tuned for protocols from the Early Childhood Commission as we prepare to open all early childhood institutions. That was a message brought to you by the Early Childhood Commission. The following is a message from the Early Childhood Commission. Hi, it's me again, reminding you of some of our protocols as we prepare for the opening of early childhood institutions. Remember to rearrange desks and chairs to face one direction. And remember at all times that you should be wearing your mask in the classroom. Remember that you should be keeping the windows and doors open for proper ventilation. Stay tuned for more protocols from the Early Childhood Commission. That was a message brought to you by the Early Childhood Commission. The following is a message from the Early Childhood Commission.
Did you know that the first 1,000 days of life is the most important time to the development of the brain and the mind of a little child? We have to make sure good nutrition is a must. Stimulation is another plus. Find the time to read and sing to them. Make sure the kids come first. And not because it seems they don't have no cares. We must protect their eyes and ears. Abuse and violence can affect them for years and years. Brain builders, brain builders, brain builders. We are the brain builders.
That was a message brought to you by the Early Childhood Commission. The following is a message from the Early Childhood Commission.
This is Wayne Marshall, and I'm working with the Early Childhood Commission on the new Brain Builders Initiative, where we're focusing on the children, we're focusing on the first 1,000 days of life. That is the time span from conception to 2 years of age. And it's a time when foundations are established for health, growth, and development. We have to really focus on the kids at this stage of their development.
That was a message brought to you by the Early Childhood Commission. This is a message from the Early Childhood Commission. Do you have a child between 0 to 2 years of age? If yes, you need to download the ECC's First 1000 Days app. It allows you to receive parenting tips, track developmental milestones, learn about the Brain Builder concept, receive relevant articles and research, plus interactive content. The First 1000 Days app, now available for download on the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store.
Hi, I'm Katie. The Early Childhood Commission is delighted to present to you the First 1000 Days app. This app will give you access to information on the first 1000 days of your child's life. You will be able to track developmental milestones, and we will give you an opportunity to connect with parents as well as with the Early Childhood Commission. I will now give you 3 simple steps to download the app to your Android device.
Step 1. Go to the Google Play Store and search for First 1000 Days. That is 1ST 1000 days. Step number 2. Open the app and sign up with an email or your Facebook or Twitter accounts. Step number 3 is the easiest of them all. Enjoy the features of this wonderful app.
That was a message brought to you by the
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. And guess what? The very way we have started is the very way we're going to end. So you started the PDI with seeing my face. And so we're closing the PDI with seeing my face. I'm Leighton Jones, and I will be hosting you through the closing ceremonies this afternoon. It has been a wonderful week, I gather. We have looked through and we have seen all the comments. We have seen the videos that you have sent. We have seen we are over the participation, and of course this couldn't be possible without all those who made it possible, all our sponsors, the team from the ECC that basically had their beds down here at the hub and slept right through, the support team, the technical team. So for this closing ceremony, we're going to see if we can find the beds where they got an hour to sleep in the night so that they can get up back to make sure that everything was running through for the rest of the week. We heard that each session was wonderful sessions. We heard that, well, of course, it's technology, and of course, here and there we would have had a glitch or two, but guess what? A fantastic team always has contingency plan. And so, of course, we put those things in place and everything came together very well. And of course, at this time, we did ask for some testimonials. And so we heard from our practitioners, we heard from our teachers, we heard from our leaders, we heard from our trainers. And at this time, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be getting the testimonials from them.
Hi everyone, dignitaries present, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I am Moses Abiero from the Africa Early Childhood Network based in Nairobi, and I am privileged to be part of this conference that realized key milestones in terms of providing platforms and opportunity for policymakers, researchers, and practitioners to think through ways of improving access to quality early childhood education in Jamaica and across the Atlantic. I would like to say that the conference was so engaging, so reflective, and therefore, as a practitioner in this field, I want to congratulate the Jamaica Early Childhood Commission and the Professional Development Institute for taking this through. I know that in the COVID situation, it is very difficult to organize such event, but you are able to put it together. You are able to follow it through, and I must say that I am impressed. As we conclude this conference, I would like to say two things. That one, improving relations, engagements, and reflections in early childhood education is important to advancing this agenda across our countries and across the region. It also provides platform for advocacy for increased investment in early childhood education, an area that research shows is critical to human capital development outcomes. And therefore, I would like to say that as we move along, let us continue to strengthen opportunities for South-South knowledge exchange so that across the globe, across the regions, we could bridge the gap. As a researcher and a practitioner in this front, I want to say that I am impressed, I am privileged, and I am happy to continue to be part of this journey. Thank you so much, and I wish you well. Thank you.
Hi, I am from the Hilltop Basic School. It is my first time attending the PDI session. It was very informative. My takeaway from it is that we should not label the children and give them pet names.
I am Anthony Wilson, a teacher in Region 3. I have been accessing this year's PDI sessions from the Safe and Resource Center since the opening ceremony on Monday. This has been an exceptional experience for me. I have learned a lot so far, and I have also been taking notes of the things that I will be implementing in my classroom. I am looking forward to the remaining of the sessions.
Ladies, what do you think about the professional training we're having here at the Clarendon Resource Center?
Inspiring? Excellent! Enthusiastic!
Educational! Thanks to the Early Childhood Commission for giving us this virtual professional development institute.
Good morning. My name is Donna Bryan, and I am a parent of Aiden Gilbert, who attend the Shelmore Daycare and Preschool in Balaclava, St. Elizabeth. The PDI session has been going on so good so far. I've been enjoying it, and I've been learning a lot of things. There are a lot of things there for us parents to watch the sessions and to learn about. I learned about when the child is developing up, they go from stage to stages. Well, I was always wondering why Aiden was always playing and just keep on playing. He loves to play. And I learned that he's at the stage and the age where they're supposed to play, and it is okay for him to play. He is 4 years old. I also learned about when getting projects and homework from school. When your child gets a homework or a project, we the parent have to put out the effort to help them to do the works that they get. And sometimes we sit at home and wondering why the child don't get any work in their book. Why didn't they write today or do anything in their book? They are doing different things at school. They are learning to catch a ball, kick a ball. So the sessions, they are very informative and very interesting. And I would like to tell every parent out there who did not get to watch any of the sessions, please do. Try to log into one, because you can learn something, because I have learned a lot. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Katisha Allen, and I must say PDI 2021 was exceptional. It was well organized, it was well put together. You can see the hard work that was put into this, and it is really good. It was encouraging, and trust me, it encourages a lot of parents, including myself. The opening remarks, it was exceptional. Raising resilient children was great. I learned a lot from it, especially the part that speaks about homes and school relationship, that collaborative relationship with parents and teachers. Yes, it really stood out for me, and I enjoy every bit of it, and I hope it continues, because it really inspired a lot of persons, and it was just exceptional. It was just good. I enjoyed every moment of it.
Attending the Early Childhood Commission Professional Development Institute was indeed an awesome experience. I learned so many ideas, strategies, and initiatives. I cannot tell you which session was my favorite session. I thoroughly enjoyed them all. Not only was I able to gain knowledge, but I was able to network with other individuals in the field of early childhood development. I realized that we in the Bahamas share so many similarities with my brothers and sisters around the world. and that we are quite current with our practices. Yet still, we still share the same challenges as our brothers and sisters also. It was indeed an honor to be a part of the panel discussion in one of the workshop sessions. Thank you, organizers, for inviting me. And I cannot wait until next year to come back to be a part of this great.
Hello everyone, I am Warren White. I'm a practitioner at the Crossroads Basic School, St. Mary, and indeed I am happy to be a part of this PDI 2021. This is my second time. I was at the first one, and today I am very proud to know that I took the time to come here at the Resource Center to hear in on what is going on as what the Early Child Commission is putting forth as teachers, practitioners. And indeed, I was a part of the Leadership in Pandemic talk this morning, and trust me, it was very, very effective. It was a 360 standpoint as to how we can move forward and as different stakeholders, the principal, teachers, parents, and indeed, what came out to me was that we have to have dexterity and we also have to relax some of the rules because we're in a pandemic, and of course we are spending extra time using the online platform, and at times you get so tired. So what was their point, that yes, we are a part, we must find unconventional way. And going back to my school and to inform my colleagues, I want share what I've learned today and let them know that yes, despite the pandemic, we can still find means and ways to reach our students. And indeed, this is what's going to bring us through this process, finding ways and making the connection in different ways and unearthing some skills in us. Because you may have teachers, I'm a young teacher as well, and you may have persons in your school. Call on the resource persons and challenge everyone. As they said, empower and not delegate. And indeed, I'm happy to be a part of this, and trust me, we can have a better future going forward as EC practitioners. Thank you very much.
I believe that we could think of 1,000 things to do during the pandemic. And many of those things wouldn't even be work related. And so it's only a group of persons who are committed to what they do and what they do in their work, who would use the opportunity provided by the pandemic to actively plan an institute of this magnitude, beaming right across the globe and involving our local persons as well as the diaspora. I want to commend the Early Childhood Commission for having done that. I also want to comment on how relevant the themes were. From the guest speaker bringing to us all the data at the global level, to other persons in the diaspora and practitioners on the ground and all the different levels in the sector. It just came together and the themes were relevant and they brought data and insights that will definitely be a plus for us as we go forward in the system. I'm sure our policymakers who were involved would have been listening in, and they would have gained insights as to how and what direction policy could help to drive some of the actions that will be needed to improve the sector. So I am now looking forward to the actions that will come out of these great deliberations on the sector. And I'm also looking forward to the improvements in the outcomes and the outputs of the early childhood sector and the education system as a whole. Once again, Early Childhood Commission, congratulations. Well done.
Hi everybody. I hope you've been enjoying these past few days of fun and excitement and strategy sharing and programs that you can go back to your early childhood schools to implement. I am Dr. Dwayne Dice, and I'm the chair of the Jamaica Diaspora Education Task Force, and we have been partnering with the Early Childhood Commission of Jamaica to put on this wonderful conference. It is their conference that we put together in order to bring you strategies and the programs for the early childhood sector. We see it as very important for our country to develop a firm, a solid foundation for early childhood in Jamaica. And so I want to congratulate the Early Childhood Commission for putting on this wonderful program, this wonderful conference for everybody across Jamaica, not only for early childhood practitioners, but for any educator who want to build their capacity. It is about capacity building. And so I want to congratulate them. This closing ceremony could not have been more wonderful than to see it closing off with you, all of our educators, going back to their schools and implementing programs. Because it's not just the conference. It is you taking what you learn and then going back to your schools and implementing it. So I want to wish everyone a very successful summer coming up. And of course, with all of this knowledge that you're going back with, to sit down, plan with your teams, and then take them out into the different schools. Not just the ones in Kingston or St. Andrew, but the ones out there in Westmoreland, in my home parish, St. Anne, of course, and that you're implementing so much for all the boys and girls in your communities. I want you to take this very seriously, because if it wasn't for all the things that I've learned in Jamaica, I would not have been here today, from early childhood all the way up to college. And so I hold very dearly education and educational opportunities that we're providing in the diaspora for Jamaican teachers and teachers in the region. So congratulations to the Early Childhood Commission, and we look forward to greater partnership in the years to come. And congratulations to all the participants. You rock like a rock star. Now go out there and make this count. Because remember, excellence is not a one-off thing. Excellence is what you repeatedly do, and that it becomes a habit. So we want this and all the strategies become a habit in your professional development. Okay, so take care everybody, and enjoy the rest of the conference, and enjoy also your summer and the implementations. I will see you guys in the near future.
Thank you so much. There we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Testimonials from those who participated in the PDI 2021. Now, the tagline for the Early Childhood Commission is investing today for tomorrow. Am I right? Investing today for tomorrow. But you know, what I've recognized that the Early Childhood Commission has done is, without their knowledge, they've kind of changed that tagline. And so they've gone to the motto of Jamaica, to really out of many one. Because last time we did PDI, we were only here in Jamaica, and we were doing a face-to-face, right? But now, this year, you know, sometimes adversity in life push us to do some great things. And so this year, I want you to know that PDI reached Africa and Canada and Bahamas and Jamaica and UK and St. Vincent and the Grenadines and USA, and guess what? Ching chong chung, Japan. So let me tell you, we are worldwide. And so when you hear the Jamaica Diaspora Task Force Action Network and the Chase Fund say that it was a joy being a part of the PDI for this year, it really has been a joy, not just for them, but for the team from ECC. They are tired, but at first people may ever see tired and a kin teeth like a dead dog. They're just smiling, smiling, smiling. Why? Because, for those of you who don't understand, their teeth are exposed and are smiling widely. All right? So that's what we mean by that. Because what? It was a wonderful event, and they feel accomplished to know that, guess what? We have come to the end, and it has been great. Now, I wasn't the only one who was hosting throughout the PDI this year, and so we had some hosts, some co-hosts, and I'm going to invite them to come forward. I'm going to invite Zachary to make his way here. And so you in Zoom and TV land, make some noise for Zachary. And Zachary, I'm inviting you to stand right here. Right up here, Zachary, and let's talk for a little bit. Right there. I want you to know that Zachary is a swagger. He's a swaggerific co-host. So good morning, Mr. Zachary. How are you?
I'm fine.
All right. So tell us a little bit about your experience. How was it for you emceeing? Is it the first time you were emceeing a program?
Maybe.
Maybe. Okay. You see what I mean? Okay. So how was it for you? Was it good?
Yes, it
Will you
was
do it
very
again?
good. Yes, I will.
Okay. So even though it was a lot of work and we had to practice and the script had to be redone, you were okay with that? Tell
Yes.
the truth. You didn't want to go to swimming? Okay, he won't answer that because he and I know what that is. But thank you so much, Zachary. You did a wonderful job. Let's put our hands together for Zachary, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, we had Miss Denisha also sharing as our co-host. And this is our little prayer warrior, you know. I'm telling you, she was determined from the first rehearsal that I'm going to pray without the paper. I'm going to pray. Do you want me to pray in the rehearsal like real pray? Or do you just want me to say amen? How are you, Denisha? How are you? And how was the experience for you?
Well, I'm really fine.
How was it for you?
It was great.
Was it the first time you were emceeing an event?
Well, yes.
Okay. Is this something you feel like you want to do again?
Yes.
Okay. So, mommy, teachers, pastor, you know what that means? You're going to have to give her an opportunity to moderate at church. And of course, you know, she's our prayer warrior. Thank you so much, Denisha. Let's put our hands together for her. We invite Miss Kai. And this is the lady, Lady Kai. Very poised and very honest. She will tell it to you straight in a respectful way that the time is up. She will tell you that we've been doing this for very long. She will tell you that that's not what is there. It says this. How are you, Kai?
Well, I'm doing very good.
And how was the experience for you?
It was good. It was very good.
It was good. It was fun.
Yes.
Tiring, a little tiring.
Yes.
But
On
you
the
enjoyed it.
rehearsals.
A lot of?
Rehearsals.
So you see, many times when we go somewhere, we see a play, we see a performance, and the performance is 5 minutes long. You're thinking, oh, it was just wonderful, but we don't know the 17 hours of rehearsals that went in to make that 5 minutes work. And of course, so we've just experienced 1 week, but you know how long ECC meet from last year? From last year with Jamaica Diaspora Task Force, and we've been zooming in and zooming on, and they have been working at it. And it has been my pleasure serving with you. Thank you. You did a wonderful job. And so we invite Mr. Jaden. Let's put our hands together for Jaden. How are you this morning, sir?
I'm great.
All right. So how was the experience for you?
Little challenging.
A little challenging. What was challenging about it?
It was great.
What was challenging about it for you?
Well, some words I couldn't pronounce.
And then but you were able to practice and get it right.
Yeah.
So you hear practice makes perfect. Guess what? We never know everything, and life is all about learning. And as we go each day, we learn new things. So it was wonderful working with each other, and you didn't have any fights, did you? Let's tell the people at home if we had any fights while we were rehearsing. Was Auntie Monique very hard in the training, and she kept you very long, and you missed swimming and anything like that? No? Auntie Monique was fine. She was good. She was good, taught the truth and shamed the devil. She was good.
Yes.
She was really, really good.
Yes.
True.
Yes, true.
Oh, okay. Oh, Shanti Monique. Okay, thank you so much. It was my pleasure serving with you children. You did an awesome job. Let's put our hands together for them, ladies and gentlemen. And those of you on Zoom or those of you who are joining us via YouTube, if you enjoyed having the children sharing in our PDI for this year, please let us see you send some lights and some fire and whatever it is you need to send in the chat to let us see that you enjoyed the children's participation. And as we continue, we will ensure, you see, we're about children. And so we want to show that our children are benefiting from the input that you have given. Thank you so much. And you may exit. You see, they want to stay, they want MC, a continue MC. All right, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to understand that the ECC then do normal. They don't do anything normal. They don't do things regular. And so this closing ceremony, I want you to understand that we're going party. We're closing out with a party. We're closing out with an MC. We're closing out with a DJ. And so I want the camera to pick up DJ KNC, because you see, when we're finished with once the executive director has spoken, then we're going to invite everyone who is on YouTube to log over into our Zoom account, because we're going to have a closed party to the world. And so guess what? Everybody else, we want the Africans and the Canadians and the Bahamians, and we want the Jamaicans and those from UK and St. Vincent and the Grenadines and the USA and Japan. Yes, everybody wants you over into the Zoom platform so that we can have a real good closing out party. And so what we're inviting you to do, practitioners, is to write a two-line jingle. Two-line jingle, which when we get into the party time, I want to hear what your jingle is about PDI 2021. In one of the testimonials, we saw that the teachers came together and they wrote their thing. We want to hear from you. Two-line jingle on how PDI was for you. So those of you who have not yet come over to the Zoom platform, we can accommodate a maximum of 500. So I'm going to suggest you do so very quickly so that you don't get locked out of the party, because DJ KNNC is ready to just light it up, and we're just going to have lots of fun the Jamaican way. Ladies and gentlemen, to give the official vote of thanks, I invite to this microphone our Executive Director of the Early Childhood Commission, Mrs. Des Lanzes.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Jones, Master of Ceremonies. Thank you, your co-hosts. You saw them again, our children. Zachary, Denicia, Kai, Jaden. I take this opportunity today especially to say Happy Child's Day. We salute you and we salute all our children. Can you give a big round of applause to all of Jamaica's children, to all of our youngest, the reason why we are here. Happy Child's Day. I just want to take this opportunity to give a great big thank you. It is my immense pleasure at this point in time. Mr. Jones spoke about us grinning like dead dog. Yeah, we're grinning from ear to ear. And it is my pleasure to say thank you for a very successful PDI. I would like to thank the ECC's planning team for planning and executing what seemed so effortlessly. I want to say thanks to Jamaica Diaspora Task Force Action Network for collaborating with us and supporting us this year. We're looking forward for your support in the years to come. We thank our keynote speaker, Dr. Petrinos, and all our presenters from across the world for so adequately preparing their topics and giving us so much to think about. It's our promise that we will put into place a lot of the suggestions and actions that came out of the session. Thanks to our partners. Without you over the years, we would not be able to provide high quality early childhood development programs and services in Jamaica. We look forward for your collaboration, your continued collaboration for all the activities we will engage in over the next few years. Thanks to our participants for valuing our children enough to take the time out. You could be doing so many other things this week, but guess what? You decided to join the ECC for our PDI 2021. We give you thanks. We give you thanks for your questions, for contributing to the discourse, and for strengthening the conversations to ensure that our children benefit. Each child, it is our belief at the Early Childhood Commission that each child has the right to equitable learning opportunities in early childhood institutions, in childcare homes, and in families that fully support their optimal development. Our children, as you know, and it was reiterated this week, are born eager to learn and are happiest when they're exploring their world and making the right connections. We must support these connections. The quality of our programs and settings must therefore support their interests and creativity. We must continue to foster and strengthen developmentally appropriate early childhood development practice so that each and every child in Jamaica achieve their full potential. Team ECC is committed and will continue to collaborate with all our partners, and we welcome new partners in order to achieve this goal. We thank you for being with us this week. It is our great pleasure, and I look forward to seeing everyone. Tell your friend, tell your family, tell your colleague, tell your neighbor, tell everybody to be at our Professional Development Institute in 2022, May 16 to 20. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I told you not to play with the ECC. 1 year in advance, you have the date. So you have no excuse for missing PDI 2022. ECC, not chaka chaka. Oh, for those of you who don't understand, ECC is not untidy. All right? So for those of you who are not understanding the vernacular, ECC is not untidy. ECC on top of things. Top of things. All right? Thank you so much, Mrs. Deslandes, for that. Ladies and gentlemen, we've experienced 1 full week of workshops, of training, of seminars, of panel discussion, and I'm quite sure the wealth of knowledge that you engaged in, engagement that you had, rather, let me say that, the wealth of the engagement was awesome, and also the knowledge you gained, I'm quite sure, was quite good. But of course, you don't know how it happened. And so I'm going to just walk around so you can just see the team at work. They're still at work to make sure that this still happens for you. And so right here, you can see she's like the heart of everything that's happening, because, you know, this is Monique, and Monique is, I was about to say communications, but she's everything. She's everything, and she's the one that runs up and down, and she's making sure that what you're seeing there and everything that is happening. And one thing with the ECC team, you can never find out who does what, because everybody does everything. And that's a good thing when you're working in teams, because guess what? She does something, she moves, someone can carry through, and that's how they work together as a team. How are you, Monique?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
I'm happy that you found the time to even say hi to everybody. Just say thanks to them. I know you're tired.
Thank you to everyone who participated. Our participants did a lovely job. They kept interacting in the chat room, and I think they did a lovely job, and they learned a lot.
Thank you so much for your contribution, and you can go back to work. You see, I tell you that they're still working. You know, they're not jerking any chicken. They are working. See right here. Could you tell me your name, please?
Hi, Mr. Jones. Kadeen Allen.
Oh, hi, Kadeen. So tell us, what was your role, your primary role, because we know you work everywhere, but what was your primary role for PDI this year?
All right, so I was responsible for one of the tracks, which was Stream. So I worked along with an able moderator, Sabine Reed, and we were in charge of that channel to ensure that our participants were able to get the information in a technologically savvy way.
No, you should show off. Well, so she said her track with her moderator and everything. Like, I mean, want to hear people make nice for her stream. Fantastic work. Thank you so much. And of course, you see our 2 co-MCs right here, sitting right beside her. What you're preparing another script for 2022? You ready for that? Okay, just checking. But this lady is a mother of one of the co-hosts, and also, what was your primary role other than mother? What was your primary role for PDI this year?
Hi everyone, Tanisha Miller, Manager Community Relations. So I had a lot of roles. Few of them were actually ensuring that our parents were engaged and a part of the PDI, getting the parents to be on the panel, and I was also one of the presenters on the panel as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your contribution. We don't need to talk to her. You see, she put in her headphones because she wanted to look like she's talking to people over Japan. But that's okay. She is the top of top, so she has to switch from channel to see everything that's happening. And all she's doing now is watching us to make sure that we're doing the thing properly, or we in a problem when it's done. So thank you, Miss D. Right there, running over here. We see two ladies here. You see them on them phone. I don't want you to think it's waste and they're talking to their husbands or anything like that. They're using their phones because guess what? We understand that people who are joining are using different devices. And so guess what? We want those who are on the laptop to have what the laptop experience is, what the phone experience is, so that if there's a challenge, they know how to fix it. I don't want to ramp with ECC now. ECC has the thing locked. How are you?
I am great.
Share with us your primary contribution.
So my name is Simone Ellis-Dixon, Acting Director for Sector Support Services. So I was instrumental in getting the news out to our practitioners and to recruit our parents and get those testimonials in as well as part of my role.
As she the big lady, because as she make over 10,000, over 13,000, over 15,000. One big number of people turned up for PDI this year. It was wonderful. And so this now lady is responsible for logistics. She responsible for food. She want to make sure you're responsible for the bed too and everything and all of that. And when she tell you, she send you an email and the thing was in there and extra, make sure you read it, because guess what? Mrs. Wilson will have you for that. How are you, Mrs. Wilson? How has it been?
I'm wonderful. It has been a great experience, another successful PDI. I'm just happy to be a part of the greatest team in the public sector. That's the Early Childhood Commission. Thanks, everyone, for joining.
They can't help themselves, They cannot help themselves when she makes that statement, because if you remember very vividly, their chairman said the very same thing. So if it come from the top, then said they can't do nothing else but say the same thing. So this gentleman has tried to abscond, but the Lord works in mysterious ways. He ran away because he intended that he wasn't going to be on camera, but the Lord worked it out that he had to come back at this time. And so we have our IT specialist, technical or technocrat or everything IT. So sir, say something, no? Say something. Make we hear if you're done then now. How you do, sir?
I'm good.
Talk to us about your role and function for PDI 2021.
Wow. So I was instrumental in managing the tracks, all 6 tracks, ensuring that the technology is available to the thousands of participants.
So tell us now, like you did freak out Tuesday when track 4 need a work? What you did? Because when me as a track 4 now work, me I say, so how did you handle that?
Yeah, so there was a bit of a concern, but as I said earlier, we are a team that consider all our options. We have our contingencies, so we just put it in place and ensure that things were restored in the shortest time possible.
Well, if we never have any contingency, then we'd have to go let him go, because them have planned this for one whole a year. I must say about 7 contingency plans they have done. If Miss D and Nicole must ever take out the booklet of all, if this goes wrong, what do we do? And so they were able to pull all the stops. And so we have the lady who has been in every track, in every session. She has on sneakers. So you see up here, so nice and thing, and you'd think she have on one nice 4-inch heels. No, she has on sneakers because, Miss Nicole is the one that has been all over, everywhere, inside, outside, round about, back up to the office, wherever. Miss Nicole, I know that you are getting like about 6 months leave after today, am I right? No?
Not at all.
So time to talk to Miss D about that when we're finished. Or Miss D going to hide. How has it been for you?
It has been great. The program was well executed, and I must say thank you. We planned, we worked very hard. Team ECC, we did well. So I must congratulate the team, as well as our presenters. It was awesome.
And it's evident, we saw it, you have said it, ladies and gentlemen, and the team ECC, there are some people who are hiding down the back there, but the camera can follow me right down there. You see, let me tell you how ECC work. You see, the money people get involved. The people who handle the money and thing, they get involved. I know you might not be able to see, but you can hear. How are you?
I'm fine.
So talk to us about your role. Is money you deal with down here today, or you jump into everything else? Talk to us.
Jump into everything. My teammate here, Orlando, we're the auditors, but for PDI, we were the virtual assistants. So we provide backups for our presenters to ensure that everything is going okay.
I want you to know, say, auditor down here, you know, and auditor, and audit, no, you know. But auditors are a part of the team and making the thing happen, and that's fantastic. And of course, we couldn't do PDI without our technical support team. We have some ladies on the outside. Watch the mummies running away, the mummies for the children who have been here every day. The children were here. But our technical support team, we have Phase 3, the team from Phase 3, who is allowing us to see everything that you are seeing. And all the experiences, and really taking us through all supporting and everything, how beautiful the thing look and everything. It's all because of Phase 3. And so we want to say thanks to you, Phase 3. And so, ladies and gentlemen, it has been our pleasure having you at PDI 2021. So on behalf of the Early Childhood Commission, I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. And we look forward to seeing you at PDI 2022. May something. I don't remember May when, but remember say May. May 16 to 20, 2022. Book the date. Don't be late. Now, if you have not yet joined or gone over to our Zoom platform, please ensure you do so, or you're not going to be a part of the party, because guess what? DJ KNNC is going to be taking it over. Please remember to have your jingles so that we can get to interact with you at that time. Please use the opportunity to come on over.